Hello, hello, friends. It's day 2 of this week. We are continuing talking about perseverance and about Noah. We're going to start reading where we left off yesterday. Yesterday, we read part of chapter 6 and all of chapter 7. So it took us a little bit to read through scripture, but I think it is so important to read through that scripture so that it becomes ingrained in our hearts and in our brains. All right. So we're going to keep going. So we're reading in chapter 8 today, and we're going to talk more about perseverance and how Noah perseveres through this flood. So yesterday we read that Noah was asked by God to build an ark, number 1, and then gather all the animals, number 2, and then be shut into the ark when all the floodwaters came. And remember, the floodwaters came for 40 days and 40 nights. But it flooded the earth for 150 days. Okay, so it was kind of a long time that they were on that ark. So here we go, chapter 8 in Genesis, in the first book of the Bible. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark. And he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. The water receded steadily from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the water had gone down. And on the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark became to rest on the mountains of Mount Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. Okay, so they had 150 days. First of all, it rained 40 days and 40 nights. And then they had 150 days that the waters were still there. But then it starts to recede, which means it starts to go down and down and down. All right? So it recedes and recedes. And then the ark finally lands on the top of a mountain, on Mount Ararat. And then 3 more months go by, and then it starts becoming more visible and below the mountains more and more and more. Now, after 40 days, Noah opened the window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up all the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could not find a place to set its feet because there was water over all the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. Noah reached out his hand and took the dove and brought it back into the ark. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in its beak was a fresh olive leaf. Can you imagine their excitement when they sent that dove out the first time and it came right back because it couldn't find any place to land? And then he waited 7 days more and he sent it out and it came back to him that night with an olive leaf in its mouth. Can you imagine how excited they were to feel that they were going to know they were about to get off the ark? Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. He waited 7 more days, sent the dove out again, and this time the dove did not return to him. By the first day of the first month of Noah's 601st year, the water had dried up from the earth. Noah then removed the covering from the ark and saw that the surface of the ground was dry. By the 27th day of the 2nd month, the earth was completely dry. That whole time, Noah persevered. It was not easy for him to be on an earth with animals that make loud noises. They're screeching and hollering, and some might do something, some might screech, and then others start getting excited about something, or they're scared or they're nervous. Animals have things that they make noises towards. You know, when one animal sees another and they get upset, can you imagine then how loud it would be on the ark? And yet Noah persevered through all of that. All that time he was on the ark, and he was working hard to stay on that ark and take care of all animals. So that's our example of perseverance, is in this story is Noah. Then God said to Noah, "Come out of the ark, you and your wife, and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and all the creatures that move along the ground, so that they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number upon it." So Noah came out. Can you imagine their excitement stepping onto dry ground for the first time in months? I would be so excited. Noah came out together with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives, all the animals and all the creatures that move along the ground and all the birds, everything that moves came out of the ark, one kind after another. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and taking some of the clean animals and clean birds, he sacrificed burnt offerings on it. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, "Never again will I curse the ground because of man, even though every inclination of his heart is evil from childhood, and never again will I destroy all living things as I have done before." And that's the fun part of the story, where God puts a rainbow in the sky to remind us that he will never do that again. He made a covenant with Noah, and that was part of his covenant. And it's just such a great reminder that we need to trust God in all things. There are going to be hard things that happen. This was a hard thing for Noah and his family, and they persevered. So I just want you to remember that as we go throughout this week. Perseverance is not always easy. Remember, it's doing something even when it's hard. But we have to persevere. And I guess we don't have to, but we need to persevere. We need to work hard to show God that we love him and that we can do it. And you know who helps us make it through that? God. God helps us persevere. It's not just on us. He helps us do that. God was there with Noah that whole time. He didn't leave him. All right, so you have two things that you can choose from today. One, it says, what was he thinking? Write or draw what you think that Noah was thinking as he built his big boat on dry land before the flood. Okay, so this is just thinking about the story that we talked about yesterday. Draw a picture of what you think Noah is thinking about. Okay, and then the other thing you can do says, Noah obeyed God and persevered to build the ark. What are some things that you can persevere at? Okay, and so you can just write or draw pictures of things that you can persevere at. What are some things that are hard sometimes, but you can do them? So those are your two options today. You don't have to do both, but if you'd like to do both, you can. And I will come back tomorrow and give you another thing for you to do. Have a great night.